Good morning. Welcome to Ramblings with Joe. Today I'd like to talk about the college education system. More specifically, I'd like to talk about the financing of the college system. One of the things that the shutdown has brought to our attention is that there are 1.2 million college students on SNAP, formerly known as food stamps. I prefer to think of it as food stamps because I'm old. So those students include parents and, well, it includes anybody that needs food in college that doesn't make enough money to buy food. I have a huge problem with this. Number one, I don't like our college system. I think that it is pretty much just a place to indoctrinate children into the left way of thinking, into liberal ideology. The idea that we are paying for one party's agenda to be instilled in students is just anti-American. America's about choice. America's about doing the best that you can, and the best rises to the top, whether it's left or right. The idea that we are paying, all of us are paying for students to be indoctrinated into one political party or the other instead of them being taught how to think instead of what to think, is beyond un-American. It is unhuman. It's indoctrination is what it is. But beyond that, we have a problem with the financial system that is in place to keep the colleges in the money. So there was a time in America when you wanted to go to school, you went to a school and you applied to get in. They looked at your SAT scores or whatever scores they used to decide, and they would tell you what you needed to do to get in. And that usually meant what kind of financial responsibility you'd have. So you would have a job and you would work your way through school. Well, they wanted more people to go to college. The government started guaranteeing loans. And that made the money available for school basically unlimited. And when you have an unlimited resource, more resource of that is demanded by the people who want it. School costs started going up. This is the downside of unlimited funding for schools. And I know that there are going to be those of you who say that it's not unlimited. I get it. It's not. There's no infinite well of money to draw upon for school. Or is there? I'm 61 years old. I could go out tomorrow and get a federally guaranteed loan for college. I could do that. It would not be fiscally responsible of me. I would be throwing money away because I am so close to retirement that there's no point in me doing that. When I was a young man, fresh out of the Navy, I went to the college, and after some disparaging remarks about military service from the professor on stage, I left. I was not going to be a party to that particular brand of liberalism. I don't regret that. There have been times when I have regretted it, but I don't regret it because I was not indoctrinated into that particular line of thinking, which was quite obviously happening from the get-go. This was not for me. I was never a great student. I was never someone who enjoyed school. I loved reading. Still love reading. It is one of the biggest pleasures in my life. I love garnering knowledge. It is awesome to learn things. More often than not, if I'm sitting in front of the idiot box, the television, I'm either watching a documentary or I'm watching some political news or news in general. It is a wonderful thing to gain knowledge. The school system as it's set up is not set up for people like me. You have to work at a very, very stringent set schedule. There's no getting around it. You can't go ahead of your class. You can't fall behind in your class. If you do, you're given remedial studies or you're told not to jump ahead. I used to love math. I remember in school that I would jump ahead in my we had pre-algebra in I think it was the 5th or 6th grade, and I went through the workbook and I just finished all the problems. It was a good time. I enjoyed it. It was ridiculously silly of me because as soon as the teacher found out, she took my workbook, gave me a new one, and said, "Stay with the class." So I did. I consider that the beginning of the downfall of my scholastic career. Hated it. It was absolutely torturously boring. What we have in the colleges now is indoctrination. And I know there are going to be a lot of people who say that's BS, but it's not. I mean, go on to campus. I've met way too many college graduates and students who have left school because it's exactly what I was describing and they couldn't stomach it. That's not what this podcast is about. That's quite a bit of rambling is what that is. But that kind of fits in with the name of the show. The problem is government. It really is. We have given the schools an unbelievable foothold on the monetary system. You have anybody can go get a student loan. And there are institutions that will loan students money at the drop of a hat. And the reason that is because they have to do no checks on the students. So if a student goes in, and I'm going to make up some things now, a student goes in and says, "I'd like to get a student loan for this semester for $10,000 to study underwater basket weaving." That seems to be a favorite of everybody's example to use. The bank that is loaning that student the money does not look at the feasibility of the degree and whether or not this student will have the ability to pay it back, because they don't care. It's a guaranteed loan. How guaranteed? When that student hits retirement, if they go into retirement owing $250,000 in student loans, they have to give their money from retirement, from Social Security that they've worked their whole life for, to the financial institution that has ended up purchasing that loan. It's going to get paid back. This is what we call debtor's prison. Are there bars? No, there aren't bars. Are you beholden to a specific person? Nope. But you are beholden to a financial institution somewhere, somehow. And you're going to have to pay that money back. And I understand there are a lot of people who believe you should have to pay that money back. You borrowed it. You got that money. Well, here's the thing. You're 18 years old. You just came out of high school, and everybody in high school is telling you you need to go to college. You need to go get a degree, or else you're never going to make it. And if you don't get that college degree, you're going to be doomed to a life of toil. The downside of that is they're not telling you college degrees are so expensive now, and they cost so much money that you are going to be doomed to a life of toil. I have a different take on that. I don't think you have to be doomed either way. I think that you can be alive and enjoying life. I'm a truck driver. It's what I do for a living. It's how I make my money. I'm not toiling miserably. I'm having a pretty good life, man. I'm out here enjoying myself. I work with incredible people. I have an incredibly fulfilling personal life. I have an incredibly fulfilling professional life. I'm doing things that I love for people that I love, which in general is everybody. But that's the point. Your job should not decide as to how fulfilled you are. You should decide how fulfilling your life is. And if what you're doing is not fulfilling, you should go find something else to do. I've done it many times. I've had a lot of jobs in my life. This is where I landed. And I'm happy here. I'm content. It's good. I cannot tell you how glad I am I didn't get indoctrinated into the liberal mindset. If you don't, this is what they're taught. If you don't go to college, you're going to be miserable. What they don't teach is if you do go to college, a good college, a college that will give you a 4 or 6 year degree, you're going to be in debt for a very long time, to the point where you can't afford to buy a house. That kind of debt. So there you go. What are you going to do? Well, the problem isn't the students. They're kids. They're dumb enough to make that kind of mistake early on and then pay for it for the rest of their life and end up in a debtor's prison of toiling for companies or just in work in general. It is horrible that they put these students in this position. And by the time they graduate college, remember, the human brain is not really fully developed until 25, right about the time they graduate college. So about the time they graduate college, the realization occurs to them, hey, I can't afford a house, and I have $250,000 in debt, and I'm serving coffee at Starbucks, and nobody's hiring me for the degree I have. Is the problem the degree? A little bit. Is the problem the liberal education? A little bit more. But the root problem is the government said there's no consequences for the financial institutions. If at the very beginning of this process, the student had taken his application for a loan to the bank and said, I need to get me a degree in underwater basket weaving, and the bank was dependent upon that student's ability to pay back the loan, examined the student's scholastic history, and examined the ability for that student to make money in the field of underwater basket weaving, the bank would tell the student, nah, we don't think so. This is not a good investment. However, if the bank has a student come in with the intention of getting an underwater basket weaving degree, and they look at the situation and they say, okay, so you want an underwater basket weaving degree, and you're probably not ever going to make any money, but this loan's guaranteed to be paid back. Yeah, you can have that money. So now we have an influx of money into a situation where there used to be not a whole lot. It was all about education back in the day. Now it's all about money. That money comes in, and the law of supply and demand kicks in. The schools say, hey, we've got a lot more applicants. We can raise our rate for our product, which is supposed to be an education, and that rate goes up. I wonder how much it's gone up. Let's take a quick break and find out. So the student loans, since the inception of the guaranteed government loan program, it's not a government loan, since the guaranteed loan program has gone up 1,100%. We're not talking about twofold or threefold or fourfold. We're talking about 1,100%. Nothing the government touches is cheap, ever. Supply and demand. A lot of students with a lot of money. Demand is up. The supply is not moved much. Schools can now charge exorbitant amounts of money. And they do. That's the bottom line for schools, for colleges. Put them back into the capitalist system. Let them compete for students. Let them compete for the best. Let them compete for, not me, I'm a horrible student. They can compete for a student that can go a long way, that can do wonderful things for the world in general, that can become astonishing leaders. Or we can keep going down this road and we're creating, well, wage slaves that never get out from under the loans that should have never been guaranteed. Make the financial institutions do the research to find out if a loan is feasible. Give the students the ability to declare bankruptcy with the loans and return the system back to common sense. The checks and balances were in place. The federal guarantees have removed the checks and balances. Put them back in place. Make lending institutions responsible for the money they loan again. It's that simple. This is an easy fix. It really is. And it all comes back down to debtor's prison, which is something we don't have in America. Bankruptcy. That's the answer. It's ugly. It's the underbelly of capitalism that nobody wants to look at, but that is the answer for the financial problems and the financial woes of our students. Well, that was pretty heavy. This coffee's getting kind of light. I better get downstairs and get another cup. It's Wednesday. Let's all go out and have a really good day. I intend to give it a good go. It's been a good couple days beginning in the week. It was cold yesterday. Man, I couldn't get warm. I came home and I said, let me get that heater cranked up, and I cranked up the heater. Had some really good soup. Man, I tell you what. You come home from a cold day and there's some soup on the stove cooking and it smells like it smelled last night, and then you get some and it tastes like it tasted last night. That's a little piece of heaven right there. So it's Wednesday. I hope that you all go out and have an incredible day. I intend to try. I hope you find peace, love, and dream. Until next time, au revoir. That may be not the way you say it. Au revoir? Au revoir? It is what it is. Until next time, au revoir. Do the French roll their R's? This is very disconcerting. Until next time, au revoir.